Welcome to a super edition of the What's on Tap podcast. I am here with my two friends, Matt and Naveen. Gentlemen, we've reached the final football game of the season. Are you happy, sad, excited? What are the emotions?
I think the emotions are kind of dull because the Chiefs made it, unfortunately, and also the Eagles also made it, and so that's kind of not a very desirable fan base either. So we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So yeah, a little sad to see the season end, but yeah, hopefully it's a good game.
Yes, the final game of this season, rematch from a couple years ago. We put the mush on the Buffalo Bills and the Washington Commanders because we all picked both of them to make it, and they did not. Commanders kind of got blown out, and the Bills just fell yet again to the Chiefs and to Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. And then a week after that, it's the Daytona 500, starting of race season. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Okay. Well, in a Super Bowl podcast, there's very few things that can lead. We figured we come in here with just one topic in mind, but sometimes there's a trade, a transaction that's so significant it needs to be talked about. And in the world of the NBA a few days ago, there was a trade that broke the NBA universe. Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis and a first-round pick. There were some other role players involved, but that is the crux of it, and it was a shocker. I have so many thoughts about this, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it first.
Yeah, this trade was interesting for both teams. So they took Luca and traded him to LA, so he is teaming up with LeBron, and then Anthony Davis is going to the Mavericks, who has um, Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson already. And so let me start with the Mavs. I think it's really interesting because when you look at it, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, those are guys that have all won rings, but they are three of the Robins of their championship winning teams, which I think is like it's crazy to think about, but it's just like, okay, so who's going to get the ball in crunch time type of thing. They're still really good. Anthony Davis is still very injury prone. He actually got hurt like last week, and he's actually not even playing tonight. I think, yeah, he's out tonight, so he won't be playing yet. But he will be in there. But he's been injury prone his whole career, really. But when he's on, he's great. And then with the Lakers, you get Luka, who's a 25-year-old superstar. He's an incredibly tall point guard. He's 6'6". And he just led his team to the finals last year in Dallas, and now he gets traded to the Lakers to try to help LeBron win a ring.
It's pretty crazy. I have thoughts about the strategy of it too, but just to put it in perspective, for those who aren't NBA fans who are listeners, it's like if you were to trade, it's like if the Bills were to trade Josh Allen for like Nick Bosa. You're trading a younger player who's a more important player because you say you need defense. It's actually, for baseball fans, it's kind of like the Mookie Betts trade, honestly, not to rub salt on the wound there, Naveen, but like it's worse than the Mookie Betts trade because in basketball, you can actually win with one or two superstars. And he's 25 years old. He's made 5 first-team All-Pros in his first 6 years. That I don't believe that's ever happened. Maybe LeBron did it, and I think that was it. But I don't even know if he did it. And he's in his prime. I just don't understand what the purpose of this was. What I hate the most is that they then spent the next 24 hours leaking all this like trash information about Luka to the media, and it was so obvious that it was the GM who was doing it. Oh, he's out of shape. We're afraid about his conditioning. He drinks too much. Injury history. Dude, you just traded one of the greatest players in your franchise history at the start of his prime. Like, how can you justify that?
So real quick, so you brought up the comparison of Mookie Betts, like the Mookie Betts trade or trading Josh Allen for someone on defense or something. I actually saw this reel today, and it was hilarious. They're just like, it's like you traded a 2025 G-Wagon for a 2015 Pathfinder.
Yeah.
and then they're just like, it's like me giving you a crisp $100 bill and you give me $16.25 on an Applebee's gift card.
Yeah.
So it's pretty bad when you look at it like that. But like you said, Dave, so Luka has had 5 all first teams coming in, and so because they traded him to the Lakers, that means that he is ineligible to receive a super max deal, and that would have been north of 300, because I know Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have, I believe, 300 and 330 million each, and so that makes him ineligible. So the most that he'll be able to make is, I think, in the hundreds, like 116 million. I mean, and these are all relative numbers because these are sports athletes. I mean, we would all love this kind of money. And so I think for the Dallas Mavericks, I don't think that they wanted to pay 300 million for him. I mean, yes, like he's great. I mean, he's 25 years old. He's young. And then, like you said, there were some other issues of, I saw one report say that he reached 270 pounds, and there's essentially saying that he's too fat. And then they roll to like clips in the finals where they would just pass the ball around until it got to his guy because he doesn't play defense. And then it would just show him getting burned, and the other team getting the bucket. And so it's just like, I think from that perspective, that's kind of why they did give him to the Lakers or traded him to the Lakers. But I mean, if I'm Dallas, I would want to build around him, not get rid of him. He's literally your focal point.
Yeah, he's such an offensive weapon. There are concerns, I think, moving forward about his weight, like you guys have brought up. How well is he going to age? Because he is 25. You're going to give him what's the max, a 5-year contract for 300 whatever mil. They obviously should have kept him. This I heard it compared to this was like one of the most shocking trades someone was saying that they heard of since the Oilers traded Wayne Gretzky to the Kings. Like, that's how shocking it was. You're getting rid of probably right now the second or third best player in the NBA, a guy that carried you to the finals. Yeah, he was getting blown by against Boston, but he literally, you wouldn't be there without him. He literally put your team on his back and carried you to the finals. So they should have added around him. I totally agree. I mean, you have a once in a generation type player, and you just let him go for AD, who is 31, but you hear that name, you'd think he's like 36 because of how long he's been in the league and how much miles he has on his body. Like you said, I mean, he's got some injury history. He's been better over the past couple of years, but yeah, they added him for defense, but where's the rest of the offense going to come? Because Clay's not the same as he was. Kyrie's all right. Is Kyrie going to want to stay now? Who knows? He's a nutcase. So I don't think it was a good move. But yes, it was definitely one of the most shocking moves. And the Lakers, this is one thing that they do. They go from superstar to superstar to superstar throughout their history. They always have the next guy in line, which is lucky for them. I
mean, I think one thing as far as strategy goes for the Mavericks, they have Derek Lively, who is their center. He's hurt right now, but I think that adding AD will kind of hurt his growth. He just came into the league. And so I think putting AD there kind of puts a damper on that. And AD isn't necessarily young anymore. I mean, I think he's my age. I think he's
30. He's 31. He's 31.
Oh, he's 31. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Because he was one and done in Kentucky. Um, and so yeah, I mean, he's not exactly young. He's on the north side of 30. And so yeah, I mean, he's injury prone. He's not young. They only got one more guy. I mean, if you're the Mavs, you would have liked to see more picks to build around. Now it's Kyrie and Clay, who are also aging. Um, so yeah,
What was it? It was one first
Well,
round pick in 2029, right?
one first round pick, but that's the worst part of the trade. I think the trade is indefensible. But if you're
Yeah.
gonna say you're gonna trade Luca, why would you not shop him around to every team?
Yeah.
So they only contacted the Lakers. No other GM of any of the 30. I think there's. I think there's 32 or 30 teams in the NBA. None of the other 29 teams even knew he was available. They could have gotten a lot more. Mikal Bridges went for 5 first round picks, and
right.
he's like half the player Luca is. So I don't. It seems like collusion to me. I know that the GM of the Lakers and the GM of the Mavs are friends, but I don't understand the logic. Like, okay, you want to trade your franchise player, then go get a haul for him.
Yeah.
Right.
They get one first rounder and they get a 31-year-old injury prone star.
That was like the Nets and the Celtics years ago with the Garnett and Pierce signing. They literally mortgaged their future, and it helped the Celtics get a bunch of pieces to win a championship this past season.
Yeah, but even that one, like at least they were thinking they were getting the better players. Like we're getting
Yeah,
Paul Pierce and KG. It didn't work out, but in this trade, you're getting the worst future and you're getting the worst
that's
present.
that's what I'm saying. The Mavericks didn't get any future, which is crazy.
Well, so like the in the Mavericks, I mean, if you're speaking for the Mavericks, right? So they just went to the finals and they came up short, and so for them, they're kind of in like a win now mode. Like I think these are both short term deals for both teams, regardless of the fact that Luka's only 25, right? Like LeBron will retire and Luka will be the guy in LA, and that's who you build around in LA, instead of Dallas, right?
Mhm.
It's also short term for the Mavericks because they just went to the finals and they have these three aging superstars that were all the Robins to their Batman on their championship team. So the window for both of those teams are short. And the thing is that only one team can come out of the West. It,
Yeah,
it can't be both. It's not like they're going to be meeting in the finals and everyone's going to be happy about it. Like,
yeah,
no, that's
Right.
not the way this is going to work.
Last point I'll make, everyone is saying the Lakers are set for the long term, which is true, but I think even in the short term, this is going to help them because I like the idea of having Luca and LeBron together. I think off the court, LeBron's probably the greatest conditioned athlete of all time, and hopefully he'll be able to instill those work habits into Luca. But then on the court, now you have two elite passer scorers that you can run the offense through. And actually, Austin Reeves, you can kind of do that too, but obviously he's not nearly as good as the other two. Like, has there ever been a time in LeBron James's life where he's ever been guarded by the second best wing defender on the team? Because Luka's a better player right now. He's going to be getting the best defender. So now you have LeBron against the second best defender. That sounds like it's pretty good. Obviously, the problem is they have no centers right now, and they have no defense. Like their defense is going to be worse. But ultimately, you got to make this trade for sure.
Well, so one thing I'll say about that, Dave, is it kind of reminds me of this year's Olympic team. You have an aging LeBron, but when it was clutch time, the ball was in either KD or LeBron or Steph's hands, right? Like that's your guy. Like that was the pecking order, and you know, so I think LeBron will get the ball late in games, and I think Luka will be, the first three quarters. Like let Luka initiate the offense, and then when it's clutch time, give it to LeBron, and he can drive down the lane because you're not going to stop him, and he's going to be more fresh in the fourth quarter than say Luka. Um, yeah, and so I think that's just the way it's going to go for them.
Yeah, I'm
all right.
excited to see how it's going to turn out. But
It's
yeah, let's
Super Bowl week, but
right.
yeah, let's get into that. Also, JT Miller got traded. If we're going to talk hockey, no,
Oh
anyone?
wow.
All right, no Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
to the Rangers. To the Rangers.
All right, let's transition now to the big game. Actually, did you know technically we're not allowed to say Super Bowl because it's copyrighted, so we could get sued.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll say the big game. The lawyers can go after Matt for saying it. Um, so, so first of all, do you guys want to analyze the games from the last round? We had Commanders and Eagles. Obviously, the Eagles won that one, and then Chiefs over Bills. Any thoughts?
Yeah, the Commanders just ran into a better team. I think we all kind of agreed with that heading into the game. We thought that maybe Jaden Daniels can pull off some magic and come out on top, but that was not the case, and they got beat pretty bad, 55-23. The Eagles looked good. They put it together, played a full game, and I mean the Commanders just they had what 3 fumbles. They just kept turning the ball over. Uh, they're an inferior team, and they're still young, so it probably was dumb hindsight looking at it that we picked them, but they have a bright future. The Eagles looked good. Saquon's nasty. Jalen Hurts looked good as well. So it should be a good game. I am worried about Jake Elliott in the Super Bowl, but we can get to that when the time comes.
Yeah, and then the other game was the highlight of the night was Chiefs Bills. It's just I don't know. It's like we thought with Daniels. I thought the same thing with Josh. I thought that there was going to be magic for the Bills, even though they were on the road. They came up short.
I mean, look, we kind of said too that if it was going to be close, the Chiefs were probably going to pull it out at the end, just because they always do. And we decided to betray what we knew was going to happen probably, and we all picked the Bills. And for those who listened to the beginning of the podcast, I did a little, and I didn't tell you guys I'm going to do this. I did a little note for it. I had told you guys that I'm going to put something in the front of the podcast if we all screw up, and we did. But so everyone will have heard that by now. But I think looking at the Super Bowl, I think it's going to be.
I have one thing on the Bills Raven
Sure.
Bills Chiefs. The one thing I said was Sean McDermott can screw it up and get it in his own way, and I think he definitely did. He going into halftime, the Chiefs were driving. They had the ball within the 20-yard line, headed to the end zone. There was he didn't call a timeout before the 2-minute warning, which gives you basically another timeout. He could have conserved some time there for his offense because it's easier to stop the clock and manage the clock, obviously, when you're on offense. And he totally fumbled the bag on that before half. And then I don't know how many times, it was probably 3-4 times, they just kept running Josh Allen on short yardage, and it just did not work. Like, you have to make an adjustment at some point, and he didn't. The Chiefs knew how to defend it. They defended it well, and they stuffed Josh Allen, like I said, on at least 3-4 occasions. And then on that final drive, the best player all game, in my opinion, was James Cook. He got 0 catches, 0 runs that last drive, which is crazy to me. He was your best offensive player, and he got 0 touches at the end of the game. Sean McDermott. I can't pick the Bills moving forward if he's going to be their head coach, because he just finds new ways to completely F up games, and that's exactly what he did. Because this was a winnable game. I think that the Bills had a shot to win this game, and I think it falls mostly on Sean McDermott's shoulders at this point.
I agree with you, Matt. It also was a stark contrast to how good Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator of the Chiefs, was, who made all the right calls, all the right moves. And honestly, like, I think you even undersold it, because those runs that Josh Allen, those constant runs in 3rd and 4th down, the broadcasting team pointed it out, but every time he was going to the left guard, he was running behind the left guard. And they said on the announcing team that he always does it like that. Yep. So how could you not go into this game prepared to do something different? Why not go through the right guard, for example? Pretty simple. And with all that being said, 4th and long, 0 blitz. Here comes all the defenders from the Chiefs rushing Josh Allen. He throws the ball up to a wide open Kincaid. the ball hits his arm, he should have caught it,
Yeah.
and they could have won or tied the game. So,
Yeah,
but it always goes the Chiefs' way, doesn't it?
it does. I feel bad for Josh. He played well, and outside of the running plays, but yeah, no, the evil empire strikes again.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
speaking,
even
oh, sorry, go ahead, Naveen.
even in the last game with the Ravens, I mean, it wasn't Lamar's fault. You know, he put it in Andrews' hands, and they just came up short. I mean, I don't think it's really any fault of Josh per se, but you know, like you guys said, the play calling was bad. I mean, he did give his team a chance to win, and they came up short on that final drive.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward now, looking at the Super Bowl, I do think I'm wondering if you guys agree with me. I do think that this is going to be a close one. I think these are two teams that invite close games, which is always good. The worst thing to have is a Super Bowl that's a blowout. So I kind of looked at it as, so what are the Chiefs going to do on offense, and how are the Eagles going to respond? What are the Eagles going to do on the offense? How are the Chiefs going to respond? And so my first thought is the Chiefs on offense. It reminds me a little bit of last year, where it seems like they're rounding into form at the right time. Because if you remember, most of last year, it was the same thing. They were struggling offensively, and then they kind of ran through the playoffs. And I feel like they're playing better offensively. They're still not explosive, but they're kind of a ball control type offense. Quick passes, short passes, Mahomes runs, stuff that gets them across the field. Obviously, you have Kelsey as a threat up the middle. And I think Xavier Worthy has been a big revelation for them. He's been much better the second half of the season. His numbers are not like eye popping or anything, but he's been their number one wide receiver, and he's a rookie. So that's huge. And also, he's a huge vertical threat. I mean, he's one of the fastest players in the league. And they have, of course, a bunch of other offensive players, pass catchers that have either been good before, or, some used to be superstars like DeAndre Hopkins. But I think they just have a lot of guys you can at least trust. I don't think this is a run the ball down your throat type of offense.
No.
Their run game is probably not quite as good as it was last year, but I think they're going to run Mahomes a lot more. They've been doing it all postseason, and they're willing to risk his body when it's a big game.
Yeah, the offense is definitely not a running offense. I mean, you have Hunt and Pacheco, but Pacheco has been pretty much missing this entire playoff run. It's been more on Kareem Hunt. So in a tight game, if you're trying to melt the clock away, your best bet is short passes, and you have one of the best quarterbacks of all time doing it. So it's something that can be done. You still have Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, like we've talked about. All in all, I mean, this is a Chiefs team that everyone knows. Now, the Eagles, it's a similar team to the team that they had a couple years ago when they met in the playoffs with a few more additions, and their additions would be Saquon, which is probably the best running back in the league, and their secondary is much more improved than that season. So, a little foreshadowing. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game for those reasons, because I think the Eagles defense matches up well with what the Chiefs want to do, and they can get after the quarterback. Their front seven is nasty, and they have a very good secondary. And on the flip side, the Chiefs can also match up against what the Eagles do well to a certain extent. I mean, Saquon has been on a whole nother level this year. He leads the league in 60-yard runs. So he has the ability to just break a game open. But I mean, the Chiefs defensively, they give up on average 101 rush yards this season, and the Eagles have given up 104 rushing yards on average this season. So it's hard to get yardage on the ground. So you want to pass the ball. Well, the Chiefs only give up 218 yards in passing offense this season, and the Eagles lead the league in 174. So that's why I think it's going to be a low scoring game. Yeah, minus the fact that they also have 2 weeks to prepare, and everyone should be well rested.
I mean, I think there are going to be players that are like players of the game type of thing that you have to look out for. And I think for the Eagles, I think it's going to be AJ Brown. I think it's going to be what version of him are we going to see? Are we going to see him, have a good game and go off, or is he just going to be non-existent? And so you got to see that against the Commanders, where he was balling out, and the Eagles looked great. Like we said, they scored 55 points. That's a lot of points in the playoffs. And so it's just like, so is he going to show up? I think that if he does, I think the Eagles have a good chance of winning. On the other side, I think it's going to be Kareem Hunt, and I think he kind of they kind of lit a fire under his butt just because, I think a couple of years ago, he was about to just be done in football with even off the field issues and type of stuff. But he has a really good shot at being the hero for this Chiefs team if they go and win their third and get a three-peat.
So, I think you brought up AJ Brown being a key. I think as an extension of that, Hurts is a key too, because, if there's one thing the Chiefs have shown us defensively with their great defensive coordinator and their smart players is they're going to take away what you do best. That's what great defenses do. And everybody knows that the Eagles want to run the ball. And I guess all season, it hasn't really mattered because Barkley's just been so good and their offensive line's been so good that they've still been able to run. Will the Chiefs be the one to be able to stop him? I think they're going to invest all their resources in stopping him and saying, Jalen Hurts beat us. And can he do it? Well, I mean, the pass offense has been anemic a lot of the season, except last week when it was awesome against the Commanders. So was that an aberration or was it a trend? I don't know. I mean, I never could have predicted that was going to happen, that they were going to drop 55 on the Commanders. So it's hard to say, but I tend to think that the Chiefs are going to figure it out just because they're such a battle-hardened team. The other key, I think, to the game is, believe it or not, third down conversions. So the reason I say that is because I think the Eagles are going to run the ball a lot, and I think they're going to try to get themselves into third and short situations. And the question is can Hurts convert those and stay on the field? Because both teams are going to want to have a ball control offense. They're both going to want to have a long time of possession, and that's going to be huge. The Chiefs, as good as they have been defensively, they're actually not that good at stopping third downs. They are, I had the number here. I can't seem to find it right now, but they're actually like in the bottom third of the league in stopping third down percentage. So I think if the Eagles can stay on the field, that's going to be big, but it's going to be up to Hurts to make some throws.
I mean, I think they're going to try to establish the run game first, and then on say third down, just run like a play action. Because I mean, Hurts still has Brown and Smith on the outside, and those two are better than the Chiefs wide receivers, even though they have Worthy. So, I mean, but I think for me, can AJ Brown show up? And I think they do that if they convert on third down, they're going to do it with AJ Brown, and that's going to be their key to winning the game.
Yeah, so I think how will they? I don't know. I mean, how will the Eagles address the offense for the Chiefs? My other thought about this is I have no doubt that they'll be able to stop the run. I actually don't think Hunt and Pacheco are going to have big games at all. But once again, the key is Mahomes, because they've shown in these playoff games that they'll run him. They won't do like the tush push, like they won't risk that. They never do QB sneaks with him, but he'll do like these scrambles. They're not designed runs, but he'll find a lane and get out of bounds or slide. He's not going to get hit. He's too smart. And so can they kind of wrap that up? They have really good linebackers, and they have a really good defensive line. So I think that they can, but it's just hard to say. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold them off for too long.
I think the Eagles defensively have a chance to hold the Chiefs in check enough to make their offense work, to make the Eagles' offense work and outperform the Chiefs' defense. I believe highly in the Eagles' defense. I think they were actually overall probably a better defense. I know the Chiefs get a lot of love for their defense this year, but a lot of that comes because they're the two-time defending champions. They're on the most primetime games. They have Patrick Mahomes. All their games are the highest viewed games because everyone's looking to see if Taylor Swift's there. So they always hype them up. I think this Eagles defense is better. I think they will have a better shot at honing in the Chiefs offense and keeping it under wraps. Mahomes is going to make a couple plays. He's going to do what he's going to do, but I don't know if he's going to make enough plays to overcome what the Eagles defense has. I mean, you have Jalen Carter. You got guys all over that defense that are really really good and can put pressure on him. And I don't. You're not going to get a lot of wide open guys. I mean, you watch some of these games. Kelsey's wide open. I don't. I think the Eagles can control that better than what we've seen moving forward. And Mahomes, he might be immortal, but he hasn't proven it yet. He has to. Let's see if he can win 3 in a row. That like I still there's a sliver of me that thinks he can get got, and I think this Super Bowl might be the one.
So are we doing predictions? Are you picking the Eagles to win?
Man, yeah, I'm gonna say Eagles win. I'm gonna say they win late. Now I brought up before about Jake Elliott, their kicker. That scares me. And I was right about Sean McDermott on the last podcast saying that he would be the one that scares me. So I could see Jake Elliott lining up for like a 38 yard field goal to win it, and then he shanks it. So I'm gonna say the Eagles will win this game. It's gonna be under 7 points. It's gonna be a one-score game for sure. It's gonna be tight. So yeah, I'm gonna say Eagles win 24-20.
Wow. Yeah, yours is kind of similar to mine. I was between two different scores. I do think it is going to be on the lower side, but just because I think clock management is going to be one of the big factors in the game. They don't want it to be a track meet. I don't think they want it to be the Nick Foles Super Bowl. But
Neither team will. Neither team wants that.
I think the final score will be like 27-21 Philly. Still a one-score game, but I think Mahomes is gonna have to come up with a touchdown late, and I think the Eagles will get a stop.
Wow. All right, you're both taking Philly.
Pick the Chiefs.
Like you guys, I also believe this will be a close one. I think that the way these teams play, they both invite close games, and the Chiefs in particular don't blow anyone out, but they've also shown that they can and will win every close game. I mean, the reality is we're all saying it's close. So when the game's in the fourth quarter and it's less than a touchdown, who are you going to put your money on? Like you're going to put the money on the guy that has gotten it done every single week, every single year. So I believe strategically, I believe Spagnuolo can limit Saquon and force other pieces to beat you. I still don't have full confidence in Hurts. And I also actually believe in the motivation for the Chiefs they really want a three-peat. And I took note of it last year at the Super Bowl when they won, when they said that day they want to come back and run it back and win 3 in a row. I think psychologically that's big. Like 3 is powerful, at least I know it's never happened in the NFL, but in the NBA. And I think this is kind of like their last ride. And I think they're going to win. I think the Chiefs are going to win. I hope I'm wrong. But I like Chiefs 27, Eagles 24.
Wow. Yeah, that's really close. Yeah. I mean, one other thing it doesn't really have to do with necessarily this game. But I mean, in the Super Bowl where they both played last, I thought Jalen Hurts actually had a better game than Mahomes, and I think he gets it done this time. I mean, it's a really big revenge game for the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
So
Honestly,
that's another factor too, like just like the 3-peat thing.
if it wasn't for that holding call at the end of the game, I mean, that was such a big penalty. I still can't believe that call got called at that point in the game. Yeah, you are right. Jalen Hurts had a better game than Mahomes. I mean, that was a couple years ago.
But
That
hold
was
on,
when
though. The one
everyone,
thing
yeah,
go ahead.
everyone was ranking him high. I still wasn't completely sold on him, and he's a top 10 quarterback off the top of my head, probably in the NFL, somewhere around there, on the bottom half of the 10 for sure. He's not this elite type quarterback. So I mean, on paper, you look at it, if you look in Hurts versus Mahomes, you're obviously going to go with Mahomes, but I think it's a team game. I think the pieces around Hurts are way better, or not way better, but on offense, I would say they're probably way better. And on defense, I think they have enough to limit Mahomes. Like I said, you're probably not going to completely shut down Patrick Mahomes, but I think this defense has a way and can limit them. The Chiefs offense up until last week, I know you said they're kind of rounding in the form, Dave, which they kind of are, but that was the first time they scored over 30 points all season long. So was it an anomaly? Is it something that they can continue with a 2-week layover? You're getting super hot. Now all of a sudden you have a couple weeks off. You get rusty. There's definitely things that can creep into that situation. So yeah, I'm sticking with the Eagles.
But you guys brought up the previous Super Bowl they played 2 years ago and said Hurts outplayed Mahomes. But what was the difference? Is that Hurts, as well as he played, fumbled the ball, fumble return for a touchdown. That's the difference in the game. Mahomes doesn't commit a turnover, and I think that it's very likely that the Chiefs win the turnover battle this game. Um, they did have a fumble last week against Buffalo, but before then they had broken a record. They had, I think, 8 straight games without a turnover. This is a team that doesn't turn the ball over. And will the Eagles be disciplined enough to do the same? They don't turn the ball over that much either, but I think if you get one of those fumble returns or Hurts throws an interception, that can change the game. And I don't believe Mahomes is gonna turn the ball over, and I think that's huge.
Well, I think that is the other side of it, though. Is can the Eagles create a turnover? And I think that they can. I mean, sometimes, when Andy Reid is an offensive genius, but I think sometimes, you can get too cute, and it only takes one mistake to have a turnover, or like make a bad read or something, or get the ball punched out because nobody. You can't just be like, yeah, you're like schematically, it doesn't matter about how you're holding the ball. That can get punched out anytime.
All right, so you both picked the Eagles. I picked the Chiefs. We'll all be rooting for the Eagles, I'm assuming. But
Yeah.
and I really hope I'm wrong. But and I also just didn't want this to be a podcast where we all pick the Eagles again. We all pick against the Chiefs and once again look like clowns. That just couldn't happen. So we'll see. Should we finish off the podcast by looking at some odds and just bets that we like for the fans here? Because I have some that I like for sure.
Yeah, you can start with yours.
All right, so I have several. I won't give them all out now, but I'll give out a couple first. So first of all, Eagles lead at the half, Chiefs win the game. That's plus 650. I know it's going to be close. I could see the Eagles going with a narrow lead into halftime and the Chiefs pulling it out at the end. I think plus 650 is really good odds for that. Another one I like is called a triple crown bet. And so what that is you pick the game's passing leader, rushing leader, and receiving leader. So just if we do this together, right? Who's probably going to be the passing leader of the game?
Mahomes.
Who's probably going to be the rushing leader?
Saquon.
So if you're pretty sure about 2 of those 3, then pick your receiver, and you could put a couple different bets on it. Like I think the lowest odds would be if you put Kelsey. Those 3 guys, it's plus 500. But if you like AJ Brown, then it goes up to like plus 600 or plus 650. So I think if you do that a couple times, you'll pull one of those out. And then well, I have a few more, but Matt, what do you have?
If you parlay Hurts anytime touchdown, Kelsey anytime touchdown, AJ Brown anytime touchdown plus 1200. I like that.
What were those? So it was Hertz, Kelsey, and
Hurts,
who else?
Kelsey, AJ Brown.
1,200. That's good odds.
Kelsey, this I don't know. This possibly could be his last game, especially if they win. Who knows? He's solidified his career. He's not the same player. He had a couple good games, but in the playoffs. But I think he's definitely slowing down. Might want to spend some more time touring with Taylor Swift and dancing with her. So who knows? So I like that one. And then one of the parlays I put in, or the only parlay I got right now that I put in, is 4-leg parlay, and it's the Eagles plus 1.5. So that means they basically have to either win the game outright or lose by 1 point. The total score of the game to be under 49.5. Saquon Barkley touchdown and Travis Kelsey touchdown. And that one is plus 1,500 as well. I like I mentioned before, I think we were texting about it. You, Dave, you said that you think these teams can outscore or can go over the that 49.5 point total. I don't, mostly because of the stats I laid out earlier. And like you said, it's both teams are ball control type teams, which means in theory longer drives take more time off the clock, so you have less possessions. So that's why I think it's going to go under 49.5. Then Saquon, I mean, he's been their best player on offense throughout the season. I said it last podcast. I mean, the last running back that was the best offensive player on their team. I asked when was that. It came to me later. It was probably Marshawn Lynch with the Seahawks. So it wasn't so long ago, but having your best offensive player being a running back doesn't happen all the time when you win a Super Bowl. But I think it's definitely a possibility. Saquon's been healthy for the first time in a while, and he's running behind a great offensive line. And that's another thing I forgot to mention. The Eagles' offensive line is among one of the best in the NFL, and I think they can probably not bully, but they can have their way to a certain extent with the Chiefs' defensive line. I know Chris Jones is good, but the Eagles' offensive line, I mean, you have Pro Bowlers and all pros up and down that offensive line. So that's why I have that. And Travis Kelsey, like I mentioned before, I mean, he's going to get the ball, whether it's on one of those shovel passes. He's going to somehow just be wide open, no one around him for 5-10 yards in the end zone like he always does. So that's that parlay.
I should mention, I know we've talked about this before, but for those who aren't familiar, when we say like plus 1,200, that means you are betting $100 to win $1,200. So plus odds means you can win more money. And the point of these bets, you're trying to minimize risk, maximize profit. I had one parlay that I liked. It's Barkley to score a touchdown in both halves. So he's got to score one in the first half, one in the second half. Barkley, 150 rush and reception yards or receiving yards combined. Barkley, 2 receptions, and the Eagles to win. That's plus,
a good one.
Yeah, it's plus 1,200. I mean, that's really high odds. And if you think Barkley's going to be good, all of those things feed on each other. So
Correct.
If one hits, the other ones are going to hit, and you just need the Eagles to win. So I like that one. And the other one, we all think the game's going to be close. You can pick winning margin. So, for example, if you think the Chiefs are going to win by less than 7 points, that's plus 255. So if I pick the Chiefs to win outright, I'm not winning nearly as much money. But if I think they're going to win outright and it's going to be close, I now have plus odds. You guys think the Eagles are going to win close, it's probably going to be even better odds, probably plus 300 and something. So I like that. And one more, actually 2 more. Patrick Mahomes' exact passing yards. If he throws between 301 and 325 passing yards, then that's plus 750. I just think that there's a really good shot he can reach 300. It's plus 750. I mean, the odds are great
I don't
there.
think he does.
For 750, I mean, it's worth a
It's
little
750. I mean, that's huge odds.
It's worth a little bit of, it's worth putting a little bit on it. I just don't. I would be shocked if he throws for over 300 yards.
I don't know if shocked.
Yeah, we just went through their weapons are okay. They're not great, and the Eagles' defense is, I think, like 4th or 5th against the pass.
I don't know. I don't know if, of course, it's like you have a better chance of losing it, but
Right. Yeah, that's
plus
why it's so
750.
high. It's worth a sprinkle.
And then one more.
Yep.
This is one I've seen a few times, and I haven't seen it hit too often, but each team to score 1 touchdown in each half and 1 field goal in each half. So it's not crazy, but the odds are plus 1,200. So it's like, all right.
Say that one again. 1 field goal, and what was the other thing?
So each team, each half needs 1 touchdown, 1 field goal.
Yeah, that's doable.
Basically 10 points each half. Yeah.
10 points each half. Yeah. So I think that's very doable.
Yeah, it's doable. I feel like the field goal has become almost a thing of the past. If you're within like the 20-yard line and you have like a 4th and 2, I feel like a lot of teams now are just going for it. So that's the one thing with that one. But at those odds, I mean, why not take a little bit on it? My last one, I'm high on Saquon, man. I think so. Saquon, anytime touchdown. Jalen Hurts pass completions over 18 and a half. Over yards for Jalen Hurts, pass and rushing, 260. And Patrick Mahomes to basically throw 1 touchdown or 1 interception. Sorry, 1 interception plus 700.
All of those together?
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, is Hurts going to throw for over 260? I feel less confident in him throwing for a bunch of yards.
That's passing and rushing.
Oh, passing and
His
rushing.
total
Okay.
yards.
That's better for sure. Yeah. That's not bad.
The one thing, like you mentioned, I would be slightly concerned with would be Mahomes to throw an interception. But
yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
late in the game, if they are down 2 scores, which they're probably not going to be, but if he's forcing the ball, it's something. I mean, you can also look at it. You said eight straight games without a turnover. You can look at it as he's due for one. You know, you get a tip ball. Like, I mean, crazy things happen. All you need is a tip ball. So, I think that's got a shot. Plus 700. Why not?
Sure. All right. Awesome. Any final thoughts, guys?
Go Birds, please.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
I don't even want to say that. I don't even want to say that.
No, their fans
clip that and show it to my wife.
Outside of your in-laws are all scumbags. I think I've seen
yeah,
so many. I said outside of your in-laws. The videos on the internet I've seen are just crazy.
They are nuts, that's for sure. But even they are not as bad as the insufferable Taylor Swift Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean they're insufferable, but Eagles fans are just like mean, dude. I saw this one clip. There were 2 Commanders fans walking out of the stadium, and there was a group of literally probably 20 Eagles fans around them just yelling at them. And one of them just takes the hat off of the guy, the Commanders fan, and just like runs away and's like taunting them. Like, come on, be better. Like it's a NFL game. Like, yeah.
I know, they're nuts. How pissed would you guys be if, what are the odds on Travis Kelce proposing to Taylor Swift after they win the Super Bowl? How insufferable would that be?
We wouldn't hear the end of it.
No.
But then her songwriting career would be over because then Taylor Swift would have gotten married.
She'll have lost her edge.
The divorce album will be skyrocketing up the charts in a couple of years if that happens.
Right. All right, gentlemen. It's good stuff. We will be back in 2 weeks. Go Eagles.
2 weeks. Yes. Daytona 500 preview. Good night, everyone.